to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast.
Welcome back to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast. This is episode number 72. In the midst of a hot streak, riding the wave of joy, of balance, of innovation, refiningness, not even a word. I'm just making it up here because of the energy, the positivity flowing through the Warzone and the Warzone Amateur Hour community. Thank you all so much for dropping in with us, whether you're a longtime listener or this is your first time. The intros usually don't ramble on and I usually don't make up too many words, but you know what? Each week is its own joy. But that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn to the other half of this podcast. That is the co-host, and that is the 10-Inch-Cowboy, who I got to spectate a bit this week because I wasn't doing so hot. Spent a lot of time in the kill cams. And I got to turn to the 10-Inch-Cowboy and ask him, Cowboy, how was your week in the Warzone?
Wow, that was quite the introduction there to the episode and for me. I believe, did you say the joy? I don't know why you were speaking of joy, but yeah, great week in the Warzone. Everything's firing on all cylinders. I feel like the only thing that's been a little different, I feel like this week for me and maybe the other listeners out there, is that it's been sweaty, man. These lobbies are out of control. I don't know what is going on. I don't know why I'm getting paired with these people, but I'm playing against people that are far better than myself. It honestly was a very frustrating week because of that. And a lot of people that I've played with this week were saying how sweaty it was. So I feel like they tweaked the algorithms or something's a little bit different. So other than that, it was great. Really dialing in some of my weapons. There's been all this talk of the Vargo. I realized I have the Vargo unlocked and it was just sitting there. So I started leveling that this week. And I kind of like the way it feels. I kind of dig it. I mean, it's literally like level 5 right now. So I have a long way to go, but, keep chipping away in pregame lobbies, keep getting it there slowly, surely. But it was a fun week. How was your week in the Warzone, Tron?
Well, that must have been a pleasant surprise to dig into the old loadout list and see that little gem, the Vargo 52, sitting unlocked. It is a little, intimidating when you have a gun like that, not leveled up, and you get, you can equip it. You're obviously going to make that loadout, polish it up, put on those few little attachments you got. But when it comes time, you're dropped in, and you go to the loadout selection. I don't know about you, but I sometimes get cold feet. But so were you able to run that at all, or were you just kind of using it in the pregame lobbies to maybe passively level it up a little bit there?
Well, I only am using it in the pregame lobbies. It's only like a level 5, and the lobbies have been so hot this week. I wasn't going to, whip that bad boy out and think I was going to take anybody down. And the reason I realized I had it unlocked, and it was funny because the well gun, I forget what it is. I believe it's like, is it 15 hip fire kills in 10 matches or some? 10?
ADS with an SMG, I believe.
Yeah, so that's a tough one to unlock the well gun. And, I grabbed a couple of well guns this week off of dead people, and, the movement, the weapon itself, the power, the speed, the momentum, that's a great gun. The well gun is, I know why it was meta or still is or whatever. It's a totally viable weapon. And I used it and I was like, holy shit, this should be a short range gun that I'm utilizing in my loadout, even though I'll never unlock it. Unfortunately, it's just too hard for me to unlock. So, but that got me thinking. I was like, oh yeah, but there was that Vargo I was trying to chase for a minute. And then I kind of forgot about that. I must have done the unlocks with the, I think it's like long range kills or kill a certain amount of damage, 1,000 damage per round for 15 matches or something. So I ended up doing that without knowing, and that's kind of how I made the transition to realizing the Vargo was available to me. But no, still, it's very, very new, very fresh. She needs a little bit more work before I throw her in the saddle.
All right, yeah, that steed needs a little more time in the old stable, getting her up to speed. I'm with you there, but I hope you stick with it. I hope you get it, somewhat competent. You get the normal suppressor and the 45 round mag. Both those come somewhat early. I think if you can get those on there, it can be competitive. But like you said, for those of us who are in Southern California, it was physically incredibly hot several days this week. But for those who aren't, that's what's going on. But for those of us in the war zone, it felt very much the same. The heat level, the sweatiness, it was sweltering. For many of the games, which, my play time's not as extensive as it was, though I did get some quality times. It seems like Tron's windows for hopping in the war zone are getting wider and wider as the little ones are settling down. So got some quality time, ran many matches with Cowboys, and we got some dubs, but it was certainly hard fought. And we wondered, I think, off the bat as we logged on midweek and I went to launch the old Rebirth Quads playlist, and I go to the Rebirth Resurgence sub, major category there, and I don't see quads, and I'm like, what's going on? And then I realized they have this Rebirth CDL Call of Duty League quads like qualifiers going on. And just share your perspective on what it was like for us in that.
So yeah, when they did the update and the playlist got updated, and the only Rebirth quads that was available was the CDL quads, right? There wasn't a regular quads.
That's correct, yes.
So to register, we were kind of confused and we were trying to figure this out. You have to go online and register your quad, and then you just play the game. But you can also play in these games without registering, right?
Correct.
So we were dropping in not registered, and I'm pretty sure we were going against people that were had something to prove, because it was really fucking sweaty. It was man, let's not play this anymore. This sucks. Just blender after blender after blender. And it wasn't the best time. I feel like we even went to the big map after that for a little bit because it was just too much on Rebirth.
Yeah, it was. I mean, here's the way they describe it here. It was on the main Call of Duty account, not even just Raven making the announcement. So, spreading the word far and wide to the standalone players and Warzone players alike, and obviously Rebirth folks like us stuck in the middle, but they said, drop in, take over. Think your squad can hang with the pros on Rebirth Island? How about a chance at $100,000? Rack up points in an open playlist for your shot. Register now for CDL Resurgence Rebirth Island. This was on April 5th. I believe it was a 48-hour period. As you said, we ran a decent amount of matches, but we never registered a quad, which I kind of in hindsight was like, dude, we could do it. We got a shot at these guys, but I guess maybe in double hindsight was like, well, I don't think we ever had a game where we were really lighting it up, but we did have some wins. So yeah.
Yeah, what's the goal? I guess I don't know the league situation. What happens if you register and you do well? These aren't cash prizes you're winning, right? Or do you qualify for stuff? I don't know. What is the goal with this?
So they said essentially it was open for PlayStation, Xbox, and those on PC on battle.net. If you make it to the main stage, the rules actually require you to stream on YouTube. You were allowed controller and keyboard and mouse. You had to do the Resurgence quads. It said the scoring was 1 elimination, which is a kill, was 1 point, and they had a placement multiplier. So if you got first, then you had 2x times your points. Second and third was 1.5x, and fourth through 10th was 1x points. So what the I don't know.
Okay.
And it said each individual is best 10 games using the above scoring system, aggregated performance based on 4 players per squad. There's a qualifier stage, which did aggregate scoring across 4 maps, which I guess 4 rounds. The best 5 teams advance per lobby in 1 round. And then the main stage, which I don't know if that's already taken place or going to, but the CDL teams automatically start in the group stage. And they're scoring across 4 rounds, and the best 5 teams from the semifinals A play semifinals B. And then I guess April 7th was when they locked the teams. Then the main stage is, okay, so here's the schedule. It's currently qualifiers. So this was the open playlist to qualify for qualifiers, it seems like. And now from April 11th or April 15th, that's when these are going to be going on. And then the main stage is going to be April 24th.
You ever see the movie Dodgeball where they talk about the format for the tournament? That's what this reminds me of. This is like, okay, I wish I didn't ask that question because this is the amateur hour, so fucking we ain't qualifying for any like professional CDL tournament here. But I know there are some sweats. I've played with sweats that listen to this podcast. But aside from that, cool. Good riddance, whatever. I'm happy to not play with those people that are trying to qualify for this shit, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll take it as a badge of honor that we were able to get a win during this time. I wish maybe we should go back. I don't know if we've clipped it, but we could do the math on like what points we would have logged. But that was a wrinkle. Again, that's kind of a preview we talked about late last week on the episode, like bringing ranked play to Warzone to feed that. Like clearly there was an appetite for it. I mean, the first round we played is like every squad was like full of rose skins sliding and drop shotting and fucking bunny hopping around, like just crazy beaming your ass. But again, like, do you feel a little heartened that we were able to kind of hang with these guys and get some wins?
I guess. I just don't remember winning. I don't want to sound like a crazy person, but did we actually get a win doing this? I can't recall it.
Well, that kind of segues into a little special feature we've been doing lately, which was recommended by listeners, which was, we talked about kill of the week. We've talked about death com of the week. I think to throw in there, we got to have win of the week, which we do have those for our Patreon supporters. Those of you out there supporting us on Patreon, thank you all so much. For those who are going to, thank you in advance. But we had a great win this week, and I would believe it was during this CDL tournament, which... we were in, oh no, it wasn't. We were playing trios. So I guess we weren't with the sweats, but still we had a great victory here. On the amateur hour, we talk about how we're not the Goliaths, we got to use the sling. We got to use the brain. We can't use the brawn. And that was certainly what we did. Let me paint a picture for the listeners. We were a trio team holding the roof of prison, as we often do. For those who run with us on Rebirth. And it came down to a 3-versus-3 situation. Our team versus the others. They were clearly inside of prison underneath. The circle is closing. So what do? We put our little brains together to make one big brain. And we realized, hey, we got one of these decontamination stations. So what do is we perch on the top roof by the water tower side of prison, and just as the circle's getting ready to push off of prison, our teammate deploys that station. We huddle up as a trio, never done this before, in that little fucking decontamination circle. And what happens? We got our guns trained below. The little final 3 players on the team come streaming out of there like fucking rats, and we put them down and got the win. What did you think about that victory there, Cowboy?
It was a great strategy that if for Rebirth, it's perfect. I mean, if you are on top of a building and you have one of these decontamination stations and the gas is pushing you out of the building, it doesn't even have to be prison. It could be chemical engineering. It could be bioweapons. It could be anything where people are huddled on separate floors inside of a building and you know that the reckoning is coming when the gas is going to push everyone out. You throw down the decontamination station in a place where you ideally have a view off the ledge, and you watch those little rats get gassed out, and you fucking shit all over them with your weaponry, right? And I think it's a great strategy. Something, I could see, obviously we did it at prison, chem, bio. I mean, I could see a control situation, Nova 6. I think it's something that we need to utilize moving forward. And I feel like we kind of predicted this would be something the decontamination station would provide useful for at the end of, obviously, maps. When the gas is pushy, you could hold an area, watch people fleeing and killing them. I thought it was fantastic. It was a great win. I forgot about that win. That was a good one.
Yeah, it was, I mean, it was very satisfying because we had the foresight to come up with the plan and then we executed the plan and it ended up great. I know we were kind of, it's exciting, like to have that kind of coordinated victory and to have that tool available to allow for that. Like we talked about it when they were first introduced. This is a win. Wrinkles like this allow more depth. And I mean, I think that's kind of a difference that I've learned between like the Sweat Lords and the amateurs. Is the Sweat Lords embrace the gas. They use the gas. They don't fear the gas. They use it, whether they have stims, whether they have a gas mask, and now if they have, these decontamination stations, they'll learn to use, like, it's pretty wild. They're using something that was a foe, like I can't think of the word, but it's like you're turning like something that was bad into something good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, making lemonade out of lemons, baby.
Pretty much. And what was wild is so this was our teammate Sparks deployed his station. I, as the other teammate, had another one. So we were ready to go back to back with those. And on top of that, I had a gas mask as well. So like we were ready for the long haul in the gas. I don't know if you had timed it out, how long we could have survived there. But that was satisfying. If you're out there, you've got those. They certainly have proved to be game changers. Literally helped us clinch the victory. I imagine we still obviously could have got it without it because we're just rebirth bosses.
I don't know. I think we might have been killed.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. I mean, a guy did end up zipping up and surprising us and got one of us down. Almost fucking surprised us good, but we got it.
We got it. We held it together.
So that was the win of the week. Wasn't, I guess, amongst the Sweat Lords. But, Rebirth's getting sweatier and sweatier, so I'll take a win where I can get it. Beyond that, though, no real big changes in the Warzone this week. They issued a patch, and really minor bug fixes, unfortunately, among them. The loadout glitch, I don't know why I'm calling it loadout glitch. The buy station glitch, which we discussed last week, where your cursor goes up one tick when you access the buy, has not been fixed as of the date of this recording. Have you adapted to that, or is that still screwing you over, Cowboy?
I think it's becoming easier because I'm expecting it now, but it still pisses me off. It still sucks. And I mean, I didn't have any like where I get to the buy and I'm racing to get it because I'm pretty sure someone's looking at me and I get fucking killed because this happens situations. But it's stressful every time I go. So, no, I want it fixed, and it's pissing me off. What about you?
I've adjusted, but it's to the point it's almost crippling, and there's times maybe I haven't been killed, but I've certainly become way more vulnerable where I'm at the buy, especially times where you need to actually make a buyback, because obviously at first it was fucking me over buying the loadouts, but there's times like late games where you got a buddy that's waiting, and you're like, okay, I'm going to make a run for the buy. And me as a console player, like that's one thing I think we really have as our advantage is using that inventory to do buybacks. As you can, on PlayStation, it was like square to access or triangle to access the buy station, whatever the button is. And then I would spam X, which is to select it because the cursor would start at the top. So you could do really, really quick buybacks. But now with this fucking glitch, it's like you gotta, up, down, and it's just fucking throwing wrenches in my gameplay.
Yeah, and the really fucked up thing is just wait for you to get completely used to it. So you're hitting down and then you whatever the sequence is to get it there quickly because you've completely adapted to it. And then they're gonna change it, and then you're gonna fucking do that sequence again, and you have to get adapted again to it not being there, and then you're gonna be double fucked.
Excited for that. It's kind of illuminating how much muscle memory plays into this game. But that said, as we said, no real changes, but one kind of discovery, which not this week, but something I came upon in the recent weeks, which was thanks in part to True Game Data, to his credit, kind of giving them props, illuminating that there is a site out there now. Because back in the day, when we first started this podcast, like the sources of loadout, the sources of the meta, it was kind of like a witchcraft thing going on out there. Like J-God, Exclusive Ace, a lot of these other guys would go out there. They would kind of informally like track the stats. Okay, this gun has, ADS speed, blah, blah, blah. If you build it this way, the TTK is X, Y, and Z. It was kind of a pseudoscience. And then True Game Data came along, and I feel like he quantified a lot of it. standardized a lot of it. But still, he was going off of like in-game testing, and he would find, oh, I'm testing all my guns in private matches, and all the fucking stats aren't the same in public matches. So like his data wouldn't be accurate, and it's like kind of this weird, we're grasping at what is the truth, like what is the real hieroglyphics.
Very primitive.
Yes. But along comes a new site out there. That's sim.gg, which is sym.gg. Check them out. Apparently, from what I've discovered, is they provide, essentially, they call it game science is the subtitle, but they do data mining. So they literally dig into and crack into the vault of, Warzone, Call of Duty, and they have the real fucking KFC seven secret, herbs and spices. They got the recipe out
KFC,
there.
oh, wow.
Yeah, dude, the Colonel had that shit locked away. They broke the fucking safe, and they're spilling the beans for all these fried chicken lovers out there. That's kind of the metaphor I got here. So check it out. They have, you want to really look at what the meta is, what the objective builds are doing for you. What foregrip do I want? Is it really helping me out? This site will lay it down. You can compare guns. The only complaint I have is they don't have, like, from what I've done, haven't done a lot of digging, but they don't have like, here's the best builds, save me some fucking time. But that is out there. What do you think about that?
I'm on the website right now. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those websites where you can go as deep as you want to go. It gives you all the information you could ever imagine. Wow. There's even aiming tools, so you can see like how much of a drop off it was going to have from like distance. This is actually pretty fucking crazy. This is a wild website. Yeah, this is way more detailed. This is, if I can say, a nerdy website.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the accurate data. It's beyond. It's like to the point where they're putting numbers and shit out there. I don't even know what half of it means. But the TTKs, if you want to compare guns, apples to apples, how do they stack up? This site will show you that. Objectively, they also kind of, it's fucking insane. Yeah, they show the bullet drop, but insane. So again, sim.gg for all you grinders out there chasing the absolute meta. The times of subjectivity of debates, this kind of settles the scores on a lot of that. So you got any questions out there, put it to the test here on this site. Yeah,
it really shows you your bullet. I'm looking at just the car right now. It shows you the bullet drop over every 50 meters, how many meters it falls. This is fascinating, actually. This is something I may spend a little time on here.
Well, speaking of which, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick comparison here for a gun I believe you wanted to be talking about, which is the KG-M40. I'm looking now at the TTKs compared the KG and the Vargo without any attachments. It looks like the Vargo indeed has a faster TTK. Actually, wait a minute though. The KG looks like it's registering slightly underneath it. So you might have some stuff. I know you wanted to talk about the KG-M40 though. So this is now, that's your cue.
Well, I just wanted to mention, we had this pretty deep conversation last week where you tried to, put some words in my mouth and make me say that the KG-M40 was at the top of my all-time gun list in Warzone. And I just wanted to point out that I don't necessarily feel that way. And to be honest, I've been having doubts over the last week. It's not a gun that I've been going to and being like confident in. I mean, I really like the weapon, and I love how low recoil it is. It's a laser beam. But there's three things actually that really bother me about it, which I guess are what you sacrifice when you have like just a laser beam. One of them is the ADS time is slow. It is. It's a slow ADS weapon. I'm sure I could have a different build out where it's a little quicker, but I don't want to sacrifice what I love about the gun, and that's the recoil and its accuracy. So 1, slow ADS. 2, it doesn't seem to hit as hard as other big, bulky ARs or LMGs. So I've always known that. You have to hit your shots, but you have to hit all your shots, or it takes a long time for people to fall down. And I've noticed this week that I've been getting into, I'll be preying upon some poor soul, and I know I have just like a little bit of time before I have to down him before he's going to turn a corner, and I'll put all my bullets into him, and he's not downed. I think the gun is just and I've said this before, it's one buff away from being strong enough, but it's not quite strong enough. And the last thing, what did I say? I said ADS, I said strength. The other thing is, what is it? What was I going to say? Oh my God, I'm totally blanking.
Mobility?
No, it's not so much mobility. Well, the reload time is also really slow. It takes a long time to reload that weapon. I'll think about. I just had 3 of them. I totally forgot the third one. There's another one.
Well,
go ahead.
Let me just defend myself by saying I don't think I put any words in your mouth. I literally left. You originally were like, no, I don't think the KGM40 is one of my top guns. So then I said, oh, interesting. Well, that sparks a impromptu question of what are your top 3 all-time guns? And somehow you fucking listed it, or like you kind of by default were like, yeah, I guess maybe it's on there. So I don't know. With that said, I'll open it up again. Car 98 we've established is up there. I think you said, what was it? The FFAR. So what's number 3 then? Or do you need to revise the list at all?
I don't have a fucking list. You putting pressure on me to come up with a list, I feel like is fucking putting words in my mouth. I'm happy not having a list.
Okay, all right. Well, I thought, you wanted to rank them and celebrate some guns.
No,
here.
you want to. I don't want to. I've never wanted to do that. This is you're the one that's talking about this.
Well, speaking of ranking, speaking of sim.gg, while you were talking there, I went in, I built, I believe, what's pretty much the meta builds of both guns. And it's pretty fascinating. The TTKs separated by like mere fractions of a second. The Vargo has a 675 millisecond TTK. The KGM40 has a 651, so the KG slightly faster. However, when you hit 32 meters, there's a damage drop-off for the KG. The KG then goes to way slower, 930 millisecond TTK. But the Vargo continues its normal TTK up until 36 meters, and then from there, it only has a tiny bit of a drop-off, and that's it, 1 damage drop-off. So that's kind of an interesting, which I would have thought the opposite. I thought the KG would probably pack more of a wallop from longer distances, but that is not the case. So again, we're already illuminating like the insight you can glean from this website. But again, I know you're no longer like on the bandwagon of defending this gun, but you've been the guy singing its praises. So I was just opening the floor for you to like put that to the test with a ranking.
It's not that I don't. I do use the weapon and I like the weapon. I just don't think. This last week I've really come to understand its flaws, and I don't know if it's something that I want to use honestly anymore. Very picky, and this gun has kind of fallen out of my roster a little bit. But one gun that I do want to try, friend of the pod Sparks has been praising its I guess brass, is the Automaton, which is a laser beam. Everyone who plays the game has picked up that ground loot, purple Automaton that, is pretty prolific. I feel like it's all around. I see it everywhere. That fucking gun is a laser beam as well, and I feel like it hits maybe even a little bit harder than the KGM40. So I may have to try out the old Automaton. I've always liked that. It reminds me of like this weird like needle AR, it like is just like so long and straight, and it just like fires bullets. I might have to try that gun out. Are you an Automaton guy or no?
I know right off the rip when Vanguard first dropped, that was like one of the metas. It was almost broken, I think, at one point. I wasn't that deep into Vanguard, wasn't chasing it, but I certainly know in terms of like the meta, since kind of the brand got or not fixed, but it's weird reversion of the one barrel being broken. I know, like I've been seeing kind of unquestionably, the long range meta is the Bren and the Automaton. It's been holding its own. I just personally haven't had it in my arsenal, but I've been now more conscious, as you said, when I see that purple one, because it looks kind of on the ground. I don't know why. Like I see it and I'm like, oh, this gun doesn't look that great. It almost looks like one of those single fire rifles that suck ass. But I've been making sure, that says Automaton. I'm going to pick it up. As you said, it's a laser. I know Sparks is loving it. I know a lot of the streamers run it, so that's interesting to hear. Is yours leveled pretty good?
I don't know, but I would assume that it is because it's been around for a while now, and I get it as ground loot all the time, and I've probably made thousands of kills with that ground loot gun. So I don't know. I'm gonna definitely check it out. I have a feeling it's. Do you know what the meta build is on that? I'm actually on sym.gg, and I'm kind of building this automaton loadout to see, where it's gonna be. I wanted to compare it to the KGM40, and it actually appears to have. I need to build it out a little bit more actually before I compare them, but it looks like the KGM40 has a quicker TTK. Surprisingly.
Well, that's the thing with these websites is I feel like there's not one that's the de facto resource. For comparing guns, it's certainly SimGG, but for those initial loadouts, we've talked about them a lot lately, is Warzone loadout. I'm looking at them now. Their advice on the automaton build out right now is the MX silencer, the ZAC 600mm BFA barrel.
Yeah.
They recommend the M38 Slate 2.5x scope, the Anastasia padded stock, the MI941 hand stop, the Sakura 75 round drum, lengthened perk 1 or ammo type, polymer grip, and then tight grip and fully loaded. But there are some other build options you can access on there.
Interesting. Yeah, the KGM40 has a quicker TTK, and I don't even think I have the right build out here. Interesting. The KGM40 seems to be a better weapon all around, actually, now that I'm looking at this. But you may want to look at it yourself. Interesting.
Well, I saw Warzone Loadout this week said, actually, to revise my previous statement, the absolute meta, it seems like, in terms of long range, which I don't know as of when, they're saying the XM4, I think, is winning out in terms of TTK.
Really?
For kind of the long range, which is the old Cold War Glory Hound. The Vargo 52, they said, is right with it. They said the recoil's a little less on the Vargo, so perhaps for amateurs, you're going to be able to achieve a more consistent, better TTK. But in terms of pure, unadulterated death dishing out, the XM4 is where you're going to want to look, which is, the old-fashioned Cold War build of agency suppressor, the longest barrel, which is the 13.5 Task Force, the old Axial Arms 3X, the Field Agent Grip, and the 60-round mag. I know I've been seeing, especially when I was doing that CDL playlist, seeing a lot of those XM4s. But that's kind of the state of the meta. That's kind of how you would evaluate it, how you would compare and contrast where the Cowboy stands. I guess the final question I got for you is, I know you were kind of this week, I heard you saying I've not been sniping that well, and it sounds like you're not that hot on the KGM40. Where are you living there for the long range choice?
Well, I've been sniping still, even though it's not going as well as I'd like for it to go. I'm still living with my car. It's hard for me to stay. It's just my comfort zone right now. The Cooper carbine, which is I have a short mid-range build, which is also a fucking laser, and my car, and that's what I'm really living with at the moment.
Well, that's enough about the present. And we've talked about the past. Let's take a look at the future, which I've been holding off because we literally haven't had time on the podcast to discuss it. But there's a rumor I've came across, which again, most of the rumors we talk about on this podcast from these leakers, from these accounts out there, they typically end up being correct, although I guess the Godzilla one.
I was going to say the Godzilla one. The only one I wanted to come true didn't come true.
It did fall flat, but the Snoop Dogg one came true. That operator's out there now. Some of these other things going on, but there's a rumor that in terms of the new Modern Warfare, which is, I think they're calling it Modern Warfare 2, the next standalone game that is going to be the engine for the new Warzone. They're saying the rumor is that all previous mechanics from Modern Warfare 2019 are present in the new Modern Warfare. That means slide canceling, tactical sprint, and etc. They said these mechanics will coexist among new, fresh ideas that will make the game feel neither foreign to players nor the same as its predecessor.
I mean, I love when they say fresh ideas. Something about the word fresh just makes it seem like this is going to change the world,
But to me, that's pretty interesting because like if we're looking forward to Warzone 2, we're looking forward to the new engine. We got to imagine as soon as this new Modern Warfare, like that's the glimpse into the new reality. I think the first question is like, what could it be? Where are they going to innovate? Like, my mind
I have an idea.
of like, oh, you do? Let's hear it.
Yeah, they could make the rocks that they build into the landscape easier to scale and move about on top of. That's the fresh idea right there.
That would certainly be a fresh idea improvement, somewhat of an obvious one, but in terms of like a mechanic, I'm wondering if, I always thought one thing that was really cool mechanic in another video game that could be borrowed was, and I'm not sure if they're the ones who originated it, so don't come flaming me, or if it's been duplicated by other shooters, but it was a third-person shooter, and that was the Gears of War series on Xboxes. They had a feature where when you would do your reload, it would be like this kind of sliding line would slide down like a little graph, and you would have to basically try and time your reloads. And if you would time your reload just right, your player would reload quickly. But if you would fuck up that timing, they would kind of like jam the magazine and have like a slower reload. So it made reloading kind of this finesse thing for like, if you could lock that in, you could kind of get a little bit of an advantage. And I've always thought like introducing something like that to Call of Duty, it would just add a more, a new wrinkle and a new area of kind of skill of a way to improve. Like maybe you're not the best player out there, you're an amateur, but damn, you can hit those reloads quick. Find a way to get a little bit of an advantage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just feel like the sweats then we get so good at that, it'd be another thing that we'd get fucked over on,
Maybe, but then maybe in the gunfights, they'd stutter a little bit or something and fucking, they're always spasming when you watch these streamers like swapping guns all crazy because they're cracked out on those G Fuel energy drinks. Like,
was the mechanic that they were using in what game was it?
Gears of War.
In Gears of War, was it well executed from like a development standpoint, or was it janky? Like, was it reliable, essentially, I guess is what I'm going to say. Like, if you did it correctly and you did it right, was it like, were there times where you thought you did it right and it didn't, it like didn't read it? You see what I'm getting at? Like, if there was an issue there, that would be a fucking pain in the ass. Like, it's just another thing I feel like they could mess up with, like the parachute mechanic, like a million other mechanics that they have that have been a pain in the ass. If that would sounds like a big pain in the ass if it became a pain in the ass.
I mean, full disclosure, I only really got deep into Gears of War 1 and 2. I think there's like 5 iterations of that game out, maybe less. Again, not up on it. But from my experience, it was consistent. Like, it wasn't something you would be frustrated about. You would be frustrated when you would fuck it up. Like, you'd be in a big, heavy situation and you'd need to hit like a reload. You'd fuck it up, and then you'd watch your guy be like, "Oh, it's cool." They would smack on the gun, like it would get jammed. They had an animation tied to it. So I think, it was executed well, and I could see something like that. But in terms of other mechanics, mounting, they've already done that. I don't know. I feel like something with reloads like ripe for the taking here. But again, eager to get more details on this new Call of Duty, this new information. If it's true, to me, it's just like we're looking at the future of Warzone. It's coming soon.
So when is it supposed to come out? When can we expect this?
If I had to guess, I believe holiday season, like fall to winter of the end of this year. And then, hopefully we get some info on Warzone 2 coming out in 2023. But I feel like, in the next few weeks, months, we got to be getting some more details, some more nuggets other than these rumors.
Yeah, the year's going by quick. It's already April. Before you know it, it'll be the back half of 2022, and we'll be looking down the barrel of Warzone 2 in 2023. It's exciting.
That's right. We're already deep into Season 2 of Vanguard, and I know Season 3 is already going to be bringing some significant changes as they've talked about. We talked about last week, Footsteps. They're looking to fix that. There's some other things I've read that they're hoping to improve with, Season 3 on the horizon. So a lot of wrinkles. We're not getting stale. It's only getting more fresh. The fizz in the soda is not, dissipating. It's getting pumped up.
Yeah, pump it up, baby.
Well, speaking of pumping up, that would maybe segue into the stock price of Microsoft with Activision acquisition. We've been tracking that since the beginning and have promised you we'd be bringing you the updates. And we've talked about, this thing isn't official. It's expected. It's certainly in the works. What we said, maybe the Security Exchange Commission, the SEC, might take a look at it. And then we got word a few weeks back that it's actually going to be the Federal Trade Commission taking a look at it. Well, interestingly enough, the Wall Street Journal over the past few weeks reported that 4 senators, and I'm not sure if they were identified, but 4 U.S. senators sent a letter to the FTC urging them to carefully review Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard to ensure company culture will improve following the acquisition. They stated that if the FTC isn't confident of that, then they should oppose the merger.
Wow. That's pretty gnarly, I feel like. Right? Like it's up to the senators if this is going to happen or not. That seems kind of wild,
Well, not up to the senators, but the senators putting the heat on the FTC to take a look at this. One thing we haven't really followed or, reported on too much is all this disgusting stuff coming out about the corporate culture and behavior at Activision and Blizzard. I know their CEO is a complete disgrace, hasn't stepped down. I think there's been assurances that he will once this merger is complete. But some really horrific stories, lawsuits, allegations coming out about, how they're treating employees, especially female employees. So clearly, these senators want that to be taken a look at. If something like this were to fall through, I mean, we thought there was a bomb being dropped with this acquisition, but if that were to fail, wow.
Yeah, what would that mean? Would that like delay Modern Warfare 2? Would that delay, or I guess all that's still like Activision still doing that stuff, but does it like jeopardize the future of this game?
I don't know, but I mean, that's why we looked, we talked about all this stuff with potential exclusives, and that would all go out the window. Maybe it'd open the door for someone else to come in and, promise to clean up the culture, and then they make an acquisition. But interesting stuff. Had to share along that little tidbit that, this thing ain't yet confirmed. It's likely, but it ain't official yet.
Yeah, maybe this thing falls apart and the old Warzone Amateur Hour Empire steps in and takes over Activision. You know what I mean, baby?
Or, maybe they need these assurances that they need a party to like a third-party enforcer to come in and fucking clean house here and get this riffraff out of there and ensure like people are treated with dignity and respect regardless of, gender, sexual orientation, political affiliation, religious affiliation,
Are you saying they hire us and we step in there and clean
That's
this up?
what I'm saying, dude. We can be the enforcers. We've always talked about on the Warzone Amateur Hour, we're all about integrity. We don't care where you're from, what you do, who you claim you are. We're all united in, respect and dignity for our fellow players and our fellow employees.
Yeah, I don't think that it would be a good optic, a PR optic, if they hire the 10-inch cowboy to be the head of HR, but maybe I'm wrong.
That just is too much of a can of worms for us to dive into, but monikers can be meaning a lot of different things. So that's all I'm going to say there.
All right, next topic.
All right, well, there's actually no next topic on the agenda. That is going to do it for us this week on the Warzone Amateur Hour. As we said, there was so much new stuff that we finally covered it all. It seems like we're really, as we've said, last week was a love fest. The love fest continues. I think it's still continuing. I'm loving the state of the game. You've got that Vargo. Give it a shot. Maybe after all is said and done, you might feel confident to have a ranking of your top 3 guns, and it might be on there.
Yeah, maybe I'll give it a shout. We'll let you know next week.
Or the XM4, I've been meaning to get into that. It's kind of alluring with all this talk. I feel like when a gun like that's still meta, like they probably aren't going to, nerf it in any time soon. But as we've said, game is great. It sounds like there's the gold vaults on Rebirth. It's the next phase of that, Resurgence or Rebirth Reinforced community event. So go check those out. report back about what's going on with that. We've been trying the fucking horn on the boat. It ain't bringing the loot, but I have seen videos, so I know it does.
It worked for me.
You got it?
Yeah, I got the loot. Yeah.
Well, shit. Well, that is gonna do it for us this week. I'm gonna go drop in and honk some boat horns. So
I've heard you say that before.
So we will talk to you all next week. And until then,
Good luck in the gulag.